Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're going to be talking about Cyberpunk 2077 patch 1.5. So the Steam version of the game saw another behind the scenes update, which is basically CDPR internal QA testing branch. This has been updated 22 hours ago. This is the third time this has been updated so far. And I want to go over this because there's some people who don't understand how this works, so I just want to cover it quickly before we move on to different stuff. So basically, now that CDPR is actively working on the next patch or update, they will push this version internally to their QA testers. This means that these people are going to be going throughout the game, they will be testing out new features, they will be testing out existing fixes they have been working on to see if everything has been polished and worked on properly. If they encounter any bugs or glitches or problems, that being either with stuff they have already worked on or something new they have discovered, they will obviously tell that to the development side of the company. So now they will be developing the update further, they will be fixing and addressing those issues, and they will push another update. So QA testers will again play the game, see if there's problems, give it back, and it goes back and forth. So of course, this being the third time, it means that actively this has been returned 3 times to development team so they can work on the issues that QA testers have found so far. And this also means that QA testers right now are testing this new update as we speak, which was done 22 hours ago. This is how it goes. Now, if we go back to changes which have been made to the game, we can see that changes have been made to each file within Cyberpunk 2077 files. But there's a few things we have to pay attention to. So obviously we can see a new build ID. Obviously, every single build is going to have its own ID. That's how you recognize different builds, and that's how they're classified. So here we have a few depots. Now, of course, we can look at each one of these and say, oh, look at the amount of changes, but this is not pretty much all. For example, these 2 depots right here are the content depots. This means this is the files which are within the Cyberpunk 2077 folder. If you go to your Steam folder right now where you have the game, you will see all of these files within that file system that you have for Cyberpunk 2077. Some will be hidden, some will be there, but that's mostly what you have on your PC right now. So this is the main thing. These other depots are going to be connected to localizations, to different localizations and different languages within the game. So for example, we can see here speech, Polish, Russian, French, Italian, German, Spanish, Japanese, and so on. This means that obviously when you update the main folder structure, everything else has to follow. So these are these other things that people have been mentioning about. This is the localization, but these 2 things, or this one thing, the content one, is the main one, which obviously saw changes. Next thing I want to talk about is something people have been sending me a lot, and that is what Tyler McVicker has been talking about Cyberpunk patch 1.5. And I went ahead to see what he was talking about in this video. I'm going to link everything down below so you can check it out for yourself, where he talks about patch 1.5 and Cyberpunk 2077. Now he is claiming that he has sources that told him that patch 1.5 is going to, well, offer big changes to the game itself, and it's going to be visibly updated from like something that previous patches didn't do. Because keep in mind, I've been saying this even before, the base of the game, like the foundation of the game itself, has to be properly fixed and polished so you can add anything on top of that when it comes to future content. Now, Tyler has been speaking a lot about, what this patch is going to bring and how big is it going to be in terms of just remaking those deep RPG mechanics and everything related to it. Now, honestly and personally, I take all leaks and everything with a grain of salt. I mean, I have been covering CDPR for a very long time, and of course, I also have sources within CDPR. Now, I have a different approach when it comes to that because developers are under NDA when they're working on something, so they can't really tell you much. But of course, they can tell you much off the record, which again, if it's off the record, you cannot even mention it. But at the same time, looking at Tyler and what he's talking about and what he's mentioning, like a lot of the stuff that he's talking about makes sense. And I've been also looking to see how he conducts his research, and it seems that obviously Tyler does good work when it comes to these things, so obviously he knows what he's talking about. And especially because he's a fan of the game, so he's not just speaking some things which don't make any sense whatsoever. He's tackling, like, and speaking about actual issues and what is logical to be fixed in this game. So his things, what he has been saying, make a lot of sense, and you know, I'm kind of saying like, okay, but at the same time, I am very careful with what is going to actually happen, because at the same time, I believe official news when they come out the most, because we don't know like what part of those changes are going to end up within the game and what is actually going to be happening, because at the same time, you know, developers want to bring this game where it was and to add new features, but we also have to think about management. But at least when it comes to Tyler so far, this somewhat makes sense, you know. He's not pulling stuff out of his behind, he's not speaking about stuff which doesn't make sense. Like, for example, if we look at the 4chan leak, that was just plainly stupid. I talked about that, I debunked all of that, so yeah, again. But at the end of the day, time will tell what is going to happen once this patch 1.5 comes out. Again, just to mention that Tyler's situation, I think what he's speaking about makes sense, and at the end of the day, we shall see if that happens. But I do hope what he's been speaking of actually does happen, because that's going to bring a lot of people back into the game, or it's going to, well, say to people who are waiting on the game like, oh, now it's properly working. But again, I'm going to go through the patch once it comes out. We're going to talk about everything, and there is also one more thing which I want to talk about for the end, and that is that silence can be deafening, and a lot of people have been mentioning that, because CDPR has been very quiet when it comes to this. Like, we don't know like exactly what is going to happen here. So I do wish that CDPR just said like small, not too much obviously, because saying too much can always, you know, land you in hot waters, but just like some directions into what can we expect from this. So that's just my opinion on it. So hopefully they do, which I know they will, especially as patch is coming closer. They'll probably have a teaser saying like, okay, expect this, this, and this, and then they'll give like a full patch list. But yeah, that's pretty much that I wanted to say. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully you liked it. Don't forget to tell me down below what do you think about all of this, and don't forget to visit us on Twitter and Discord. This is LKM signing out. I will see you in the next one, and bye bye. Also, huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. See ya.